been in Senegal since March. Tell us a little bit about just who you are.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I am a photographer and I came to Senegal from Brooklyn to work for the NBA for their new basketball league that was starting. So I'm a
Okay,
basketball photographer.
that's even more interesting. I guess we could talk about that entirely on some other day. I think the reason I wanted to talk to you, I wanted to do more research. I didn't have time to do that, but I heard that Senegal actually is one of the few countries in the world that have had low numbers in COVID throughout. And the most annoying conversation that we have that I think is damaging the children in this country is about how we're handling it here. If we could handle it better, should we have masks or not? What is Senegal doing? What is your experience like there?
I came here on March 8th and I believe everything shut down around March 16th. Um, and so like I mentioned, I came here from New York and we kind of did everything along the lines of when New York shut down some things, Senegal completely shut down. Restaurants closed, everything has closed. So schools closed. We kind of were along the same timeline as New York, but we weren't hit hard. We didn't have the numbers that the US had. So I think they took it very serious at the beginning and stopped our movement. We started a curfew 1 week after I got here from 8 p.m. to maybe 5 or 6 a.m., which we had, I believe, maybe until like the end of May. Everything, like most things were shut down. Businesses weren't really running. We immediately had to start wearing masks. The moment we stepped into any stores or public spaces, we had temperatures taken, hand sanitizer. So everything was very regulated from the beginning.
Well, was it scary there to be somebody from another country when all this crazy stuff is happening and you're not at home, and like even here people were wondering about the supply chain. So how did you get food when you were locked down all of a sudden in this foreign country?
I was very nervous because I just think there was a lot of kind of like all this unknown and panic around it. And I only had been here for a week, a few days really, when they started talking about that this was probably going to happen. And getting emails from the embassy saying, you know, now's your chance to leave. If you don't leave now, plan to stay for an indefinite amount of time. And I chose obviously to stay. There's food delivery systems here. There's a lot of expats and they have a lot of systems set up for that. And I kind of just tried to navigate my way through. I didn't really know, but grocery stores didn't close. They closed on some days. And somehow, I don't know, it all kind of just seems a little bit like a blur at this moment, but I just kind of got through. I think the biggest challenge was the fact that I don't speak French or Wolof. And so getting information was really through other people, of having to ask people what was going on.
Did you have friends there or were you just there for work? I mean,
I was planning to come just for work, but I also had my boyfriend, now husband, here. So he was already here. He's from here. And so I had him to kind of help me, but we also were figuring out language because he also speaks French and Wolof. And there was a lot of Google Translate at the beginning. So I didn't have a lot of answers. And it was a little bit scary at the beginning of not knowing what was going on. But I guess I was just open to the adventure of it.
well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to work for Good Morning America. And at Good Morning America, weddings were a big deal. We ended up finding weddings happening during Hurricane Katrina. So that clearly is something that I have to zero in on. Did you get married over the course of this? And your family, did they watch it from somewhere? What happened?
I did get married over the course of this, about a month and a half after coming. We had a Muslim ceremony and it was small because no gatherings were allowed. People were not allowed to get together. Same as in the US, how they said people weren't supposed to get together. So we also had that. And then we also had a curfew. So we had to make sure like everything was done before we had to be back inside for 8 p.m. So we did this on a terrace, and my parents were on FaceTime. But that was it.
Um, I don't, you might have heard, maybe you've seen, but we're locked down here again in California, and I have a little bit of a secret. Nobody's paying attention. I mean, they closed the restaurants outside for those poor businesses, but other than that, people are tired of it. And there's this American Constitution or something going on here where, they have to please ask us to stay home. What is the penalty if you break curfew there?
Well, at the beginning when it was curfew, I saw videos of people were getting chased down by the police and like beaten with sticks. So I think that was like the first week. And then I think people maybe just kind of were inside for curfew. But it's hard. There was talk of it going into a full lockdown, but so many people here need to go to work every day because working that day means eating dinner that night for their whole entire family. So it wasn't really an option to keep everyone inside the whole time. And I guess maybe things worked for a while with having us on a curfew. Our numbers were really low until recently they just started to go up again.
Did they have like a relief package or anything like that? Because, we're arguing about it here now, but we did get the $1,200 checks for some people. And then there was increased unemployment benefits. Is there anything like that in Senegal?
I've heard about some things, but again, like because of the fact that I can't just watch the news and understand French and Wolof, I don't have all the details. I know like the electric company was giving people free electricity or a certain amount because we have prepaid electricity here. So you could put in a code and get a free amount of electricity. I'd heard of other organizations delivering food to people, but other than that, I don't know a ton about what was being given.
You seem to be in good shape. Have you, not like physically, but just also mentally here, do you have a routine? Are you going out and exercising? What's allowed there?
Well, things kind of got a little bit back to normal for a while, and I'm hearing we're going back into more restrictions. I heard today that the beaches are going to be closing. So for most of the time, the beaches were closing. So I'm surrounded by water where I'm at. So it's ocean all around me. So for a long time, that was kind of hard where the beaches are closed and it's hot and it's beautiful and you want to be able to go outside, and a lot of the spaces were closed. But then they opened back up again. I was lucky that my husband is a professional surfer here. So almost every day he would find a place where there was waves and we were able to go, and I could sit by myself on the rocks and be all alone and still have that mental challenge to allow my creativity to come out. So I was able to continue to take photos the whole time, which I believe is what has kept my brain okay throughout the whole thing, is that I've been able to still do my work and push my creativity. So I think that's, and then also for exercising, I also teach Pilates. So I've started a Zoom class for my clients that I have in New York. So I think that has helped. I have a once a week class with my people in New York. So I think that helps me continue to feel a little connected and still doing what I did before.
Considering you are a New Yorker, did part of you want to be there during this, or were you really happy that you weren't there for the bad part of it and then I guess what came after?
I think it's kind of both. I think there's moments where I feel very fortunate that I was able to get out and not stuck in my apartment and dealing with everything that was happening there. But then I also feel like I kind of abandoned my community and I wasn't there to be a part of it. And then after COVID with the Black Lives Matter, like I wanted to be there to be a part of everything. And I felt very removed and stuck here because there were no flights. I could not leave. But I do feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I think for my photography, especially, it's really pushed me in a lot of ways. And being in a community where I'm learning a completely new culture, learning new languages, it's been a lot. So maybe that good mental stimulation, as opposed to being stuck in my apartment in Brooklyn alone. So I think that part was probably it's good, but I miss my home and the security of familiarity.
I think that just to editorialize here, I'm not supposed to do that because we're trying to do old school interviews here, but this pandemic has been a test of our Constitution. It's been a test of our culture and the resiliency of our country. Does Senegal have it a little bit better in some ways or worse? Do you think that their culture came together more over this? Wasn't as big of a drop for them? They were able to deal with it, or was it still kind of scary around the edges that you worried that there were people that were not cooperating and that were desperate there and that they could do anything? What was it like?
Well, it's a lot of things around it. One, from the beginning, people didn't really even believe that it was real. And I think in the defense of the local communities here, it was brought in. So it came from people traveling from Europe that brought it here. So a lot from what I know and my own experience, which maybe is not completely accurate, but from my own experience, people did not believe that it was real. They didn't believe that local people could get it. They thought that God was protecting them, so there would be no problem. So a lot of people to just go out and about would not be wearing masks at all. Now I see, like today when I was riding my bike home and it's Friday prayer and everyone, like all of the men are walking and they all have their masks on. So it's hard to say. I mean, some people don't even believe that it really exists. Maybe more so now that they do, but everyone, I feel like they already live in such a small bubble here of small communities that it's all just being brought in to them. So I don't know if I answered all of your questions on this.
Yeah. Do you feel that because you present as European that you were worried about going out because you brought this problem to them, or that they would think that you did?
At first I did feel very nervous about it because I don't want to look like that. But now I'm such in this little Senegalese community that I don't feel like that's the case. I do feel like it has made people more in a desperate situation because work stopped. People weren't allowed to work for a period of time. And I used to feel that it was extremely safe here. And now there have been more instances, just how I read in New York, of more theft and violence. And it's the same thing here, like in areas where it's known for people that are going to be expats with money, there's more like theft and robbery and holding people up. Not a ton, but it is happening, and I have to be more aware of that now.
Have they closed off to the rest of the world? Are you not allowed to go here?
Right. So at the beginning, it was completely closed off. Even to move about in areas throughout Senegal, there was like neighborhood borders closed, so you couldn't really leave your area. Now things are open, but like I mentioned, things are going under more restriction again, and it's just starting, so I'm not really sure what will happen. But I mean, until I feel like maybe the end of August, September, people weren't even allowed to come here. Now you still need, Americans can come. Europeans need special papers to be able to come, but it's also a reciprocity thing.
Okay. Well, just for those watching in America, don't flood that poor country because we got a lot of virus here, and we could cause a problem without knowing it. the numbers were low compared to other African countries. So it's interesting to me that there has been more participation with the masks. Have you heard of people getting it there? Have there been, because in this country, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we have 3,000 deaths a day. That's one World Trade Center happening every day now. So people know people. I know people who've passed away. I know definitely a lot of people that have gotten it. Do people know people there? Or they just have to, basically the government is telling them to do this and they have to? Do you think that it's confusing, you can't talk about what everybody thinks, but do you think that people are now believing it because they've experienced it more in some way? Or the numbers are so low that it's more popular to believe in it? I don't know.
I think it's probably different between locals and expats. I've known people in the U.S. that have gotten it, and even in April, one of my friends got it and passed away. So for me, it always was very real. Here, I think people were like, this doesn't exist. They don't see it. They don't see the impact of it. Now I know a handful of people here that have gotten it. Even just the other week, one of my friends, she got it. I'm not sure how or where, nor is she, but she was fine. It wasn't, she just she felt like she had a cold for a few days, but there's only a handful of people here that I know. I do think certain communities probably are taking it more serious. I don't know any Senegalese people that have gotten it. It doesn't mean they haven't. They could have it and maybe have never gone to the hospital. So maybe it was never recorded. But so it's hard. It's not here where I'm like, oh, this person. Whereas I feel like I know that in the US, I know so many people in the US that have gotten it. Here, there's maybe 3 or 4 people I know that have gotten it.
Do you want to come home? What's your feeling about that? Or are you cool staying there until it's all clear?
It's like a question I ask myself all the time. Like there's a lot of layers to it. I mean, some days I want to pack my bags and leave and be done and go back to familiar and see my family that I have not now seen in over 9 months. My niece, that's 2, I haven't seen her since last Christmas. But I feel like I don't want to go back and risk somewhere in the mix getting sick because I'd have to fly, then I'd have to go to the city, and then I'd have to go to see my family. And at any point, I feel like right now I am in a safer situation being here. My family also agrees with that. They think that it's best for me to be here right now. And I think my photography thinks it's best for me to be here. But it's challenging for sure. But I'm always trying to find the silver lining of it. But yeah, there's moments when I want to come back to the US. I want to go to the grocery store and get the things that I'm used to buying. I want to go to Trader Joe's. I want to pay more normal prices for things. I want to eat the food that I know, and I want to speak English on the regular and have people understand what I'm saying. So yeah, there's moments I want to come home, but I'm not sure when. Right now I don't have any work in the US, so it doesn't even make sense for me to be there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of processed comfort food here. There's no doubt about that. And Trader Joe's has been open throughout. But the other things you were talking about are the kinds of things that people are dealing with here. So it's, you're not missing out, I guess, by being where you're at.
Right.
Is there anything else that you want to say about this that I haven't asked you about? Because I think we've done a good job of kind of giving people a window into what other countries are doing.
I really just want, I don't know, this is going to probably sound terrible, but I want Americans just to kind of stay put for a little bit and not feel like they have to go out and about so we can get this under control. Because I feel like a lot of what helped here was people had to stay put. We couldn't really move about. Plus, a lot of local people, they're not just in general moving about, they're staying just in their communities and close to their homes. And from what I see on Instagram and through my friends, everyone is traveling, everyone's taking advantage of these low cost flights. And I'm like, let's just get things under control so then we can just go back to having fun. I even saw something on Instagram today where people were like, what's happening for New Year's? And it specifically said, Senegal's a safe place to be. Go on holiday to Senegal. And I was like, please don't. Like, that's not what we need right now. So yeah, I want to get past this because I want to be able to easily just travel back and forth back to home and come back here. And now that this is going to be my part-time home. So,
you know,
yeah, and none of us like it. We all want to move about, but I think that would be the best.
I hate to put this out there because this is just a whole lot of crap I'm just about to say, but you know, in America, we don't have the same family structure that a lot of other societies have. And we don't have the same, like, some places have it, but a lot of places don't know their neighbors. I recently met my postal worker in this neighborhood. Some of the smaller communities here have it that I've spent some time in. But I do think it's almost like, I think of it as a mental health issue. And I don't mean that in a mean way or anything. My mom's a mental health professional. It's something I support in every way. But when you live in a community there, you know everybody around you. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, but they know their people. That's what they have.
For sure.
And so they're not thinking about traveling somewhere else. They don't normally do that. And so here you have friends that are just like, how do they deal with this without the support of people around? And I think it's really difficult. And so when I see people looking for plans like that, I try to see it that way. It's unfortunate. I think there's some nice things about being independent and being able to do your own thing that I like. But, you know, the prevalence of Facebook and these social networks and everything to deal with this loneliness, it's also a vulnerability that we have as a country. And so during something like this, that's why it's going to take longer for us to clean it up, because for some people, it's just way too difficult for them to be able to stay home and handle this. And in Senegal, I don't know if they're just isolated by themselves, like a lot of people have to be here. If they don't go to the big party over New Year's, in their minds, it's like, I'm young, I don't care, I can't take it anymore, I'm going to party, and that's what
Right. I know it's hard. It's like, what do you do? I just want it to be over. I just want to be able to come back is really like what it is.
Well, I guess
I'm jealous when I see people like going and like partying in Mexico and going to the Caribbean and having a great time. I'm like, I want to be living that life as well. I'm ready for that again.
I feel for that. I feel for that moment for you. It's one of the reasons why I think social media is bad for our mental health. You see everybody having a party constantly you're not at. And then
it's my FOMO.
You think about going, and then you're like, it is. I think I've almost gotten rid of FOMO during this somehow. I've convinced myself nothing is going on, even though obviously Tulum is open.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I'm ready for like this life to go back so we can like be together, and I want to hug people. And I think that's the hardest part is I look at my photos from basketball games and the players high-fiving or like walking arm in arm. And I'm like, oh my God, they're touching. Like, I don't want that in my head. Like, I want us to be able to be close again, not be alarmed by seeing people touch each other.
You know, the thing that I taking comfort in, there's two things during this entire thing, and it sent the mantra for me. In the beginning, somebody told me that some of the greatest works happened after various flus and scares and different kinds of sicknesses in the past in Europe when people were sequestered, and I hope that comes out of this. But the other thing is that we had the 1918 flu that was probably worse. I mean, by the numbers, it seems like it. As a ratio of how many people we had. 1 million people then in a country that didn't have as many people was like a big deal. We immediately had weddings. We had the Roaring 20s. we obviously had the period that we lived in. So I think it's natural for us to forget about these things as soon as the coast is clear. But that brings me to my final question. And, you know, if you have anything else to add, I'm happy to hear it. People are excited about vaccines here. Some people are questioning them. But are you going to get one there? Have they talked about that at all?
I haven't heard anything about it. And I was actually talking to some friends yesterday that have been here for a lot longer than I have. And they were saying that we'll be the last to get vaccines here. So I'm not sure. So, you know, I wish that I knew what was going on, but just from what I've heard, I don't think it's coming here anytime soon. Like, how fast is it going to be rolled out there? Like, when are you going to be able to get it?
Well, I am sitting next to University of San Francisco, California Hospital. They're one of the 7 places that will have it. They have it in that building now, as far as I've been told, and they will get permission, and within potentially days, healthcare workers walking by my house will have it. That's what people are saying around here. But in terms of people like me, I don't think, you know, people are saying May or maybe the summer, or who knows what's going to go on. That's fine. But people will start getting it here next week. Somebody.
Interesting. So, I know. We'll see what happens after this.
You know, I think that it'll be exciting to welcome you back home whenever that happens, and maybe we can talk to you then to find how you feel about what it's like here. Maybe it'll just all be the same to you, or a few places, you know, will close. But it'll be really interesting, and you know, please stay in touch with us.
For sure. I can't wait to check again.
I really appreciate you doing this. I think that there are a lot of people here, it's starting to lock down, and it helps them to feel better. There are people out there in the rest of the world, and that, you know, there's a lot of similarity between what you're saying. And, you know, I also think people give America a hard time because our media is constantly telling us that we suck at this pandemic. But, you know, we're trying to do it with a lot of different kinds of people here, and that's sort of special. And this is how we make our soup or our omelet or whatever you want to call it here. So hopefully we'll get through it, and you're one of us, believe that or not. And thanks for representing us well in Senegal.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And to those people at HAPS at home around the world, this is Dan Beckman reporting. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.